so exciting. There's always something to do.
Angela Mazzarelli is living the good life in downtown Cleveland. This 27-year-old career woman has worked hard to get where she is. Although she'll be the first to tell you, she hasn't worked nearly as hard saving for her future.
Right now, it feels like I have time to put it off.
Financial experts say 20-somethings like Angela tend to make the same money mistakes. One of their biggest blunders, not mapping out a financial plan once they start working.
It's vital because life is full of surprises.
Erica Aber from Sparrow Smith, a fee-based advisory firm in Beechwood, says young people who stick to a budget that includes saving 10 to 13% of their salary will find financial success easier in life than those who don't.
It's all about the power of compounding. The earlier you start, the more that you'll have in the end.
In other words, start saving now and you won't have to save nearly as much in the future. Consider this. Money blog Get Rich Slowly says a 24-year-old who socks away $574 a month until the age of 65 will have a whopping $1,932,528 at retirement. But wait 10 years until the age of 34, and that same person will have to save more than $1,300 a month or close to $16,000 a year to reach the same goal.
In your 20s is when your money can work the longest for you.
Aber says living on credit cards is another mistake of those who are just starting out.
You need to set a budget and live within your means.
That also means finding money in your budget to start an emergency fund. Financial experts like Aber recommend having at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in the bank in case you lose your job or get hit with an unexpected expense. Angela says she's got that one covered. It's the rest of her financial future she now plans to keep her eye on.
I would love to just sit on a beach when I'm older and have enough money to do that, but right now I need to put in my work and save up enough money so I can actually have that lifestyle.
Love bike riding.
Cecil Lipscomb is a competitor. Whether in business or in life, he sets goals. He pushes hard. Experience is his teacher.
I often think about not having the right people around me at that time.
Financial success is always on this 43-year-old's mind. As executive director of the United Black Fund of Greater Cleveland, Lipscomb's committed to helping others become financially literate while learning a few lessons of his own. And sometimes, moving forward means looking backward, learning from the mistakes of his 30s.
Retirement then, at that time, seemed far away. It really did.
Financial experts say 30-somethings like Cecil almost always make the same money mistakes. The most common, buying cars, homes, and anything else they've ever wanted.
In their 30s, they're trying to acquire what we call the material gifts of life.
Jay Bernard Crew, an asset manager and founder of Nirvana Analytics, has counseled clients like Lipscomb through the decades of their lives. He says typically when 30-year-olds save for the bigger things, like a home, they forget about the smaller things they can't live without, like furniture, landscaping, and cars. That is when desire begins looking like debt, and for some, it can be inescapable.
If you miss a payment now, you have a starter rate of 7-8%. That rate can go as high as the high 20s, and then it becomes very difficult to reduce that debt.
Lipscomb says his biggest regret is tapping into his 401k, which financial experts say is another common money mistake that jeopardizes a person's retirement.
Now, when I look back, taking a tax hit on money and then paying an additional fee on top of that, it's just not smart.
Early 30s, you think you have time. Late 30s, you realize you're running out of time.
Crew says it's also common for 30-year-olds to put their kids' college funds ahead of their own retirements. Even worse, they sometimes ignore their future finances altogether.
Begin, no matter what or how small that amount is, get that discipline incorporated into your process.
Lipscomb says his best advice for anyone planning to retire one day: get an accountant to keep track of your money at tax time, a financial expert to invest it, And don't forget to pay yourself.
Thankfully, I am better off today than I was then. I'm not where I want to be.
The world can be an uncertain place, despite our best efforts to be fully informed. That's especially true when it comes to personal finance. Just ask 46-year-old Kelly Drum.
I really wasn't saving very well when I was younger.
Like a lot of people in their 20s, Kelly thought she had plenty of time to build a nest egg and missed out on the opportunity that comes with growing money over time. And is typical of people in their 30s. She started accumulating debt, although in large part because she'd been laid off.
I really just did not save enough in my 20s and 30s, and that I probably regret the most.
But Kelly's biggest financial mistake is the same one financial experts say most people make when they're in their 40s. She tapped into her retirement funds to invest in something else. Some people second mortgage their homes to pay for their children's educations. Or they buy bigger houses while stretching the new payments over another 30 years in order to make the debt more affordable. Kelly says she and her husband cashed in their 401k so he could start a business while being a stay-at-home dad.
I know that that's going to have repercussions when we retire.
Using their retirement money not only wiped out all the advantages that come with compounding, the couple also suffered further losses because they had to pay interest and a penalty, which is required by law.
So it was a gamble that we took.
At the end of the day, your lifestyle should be determined by your cash flow. How much is actually coming in? What can you afford to pay for?
Zarka Financial, this is Christine. How may I help you?
Les Zarka, a certified financial planner from North Olmsted, has spent 32 years helping clients repair the mistakes of their pasts. He says a lot of Americans are living beyond their means by the time they're 40. Even worse, their budgets are based on best-case scenarios.
As long as they're both working and there's cash flow coming in, they can survive. But what happens if one of them loses their job or they take a substantial pay cut? If they don't have enough savings to fall back on, the whole house of cards collapses on them.
Kelly says she got her finances back on track when she went to work at Zarka Financial as a marketing director. She says exposure to the advice she heard made her realize it wasn't too late to turn her own situation around.
Obviously, the sooner you start saving, the more money you end up with, and then there's less effort.
Although the business Kelly's husband started is doing great, she admits she's working harder to make up for the money mistakes of the past, saving 3 times as much as would have been required had she begun in her 20s, and had she not touched her savings just as she was entering her 40s.
I feel like we've recovered. If I were to go back and do it again, I don't know if we would have gone that route.
Creating financial success is like making great pizza. Every chef has their own recipe, but without hard work and commitment, there's no payoff.
I do love this business.
Phil Pamphilis has earned a reputation for making one of Cleveland's best pies as the owner of Papa Nick's on Clifton Boulevard.
Papa Nick's, can I help you?
And yet, at the age of 56, he's still chasing that pot of gold called retirement. In part, he says, because RTA's year-long construction project has nearly destroyed everything he's worked for.
You've got to really want to get here. It's very challenging getting here. In order to maintain it a few times, I had to go into my investments and bail the place out. If you're downtown, everybody's on lunch.
Phil admits he's gambling on the future, certain the neighborhood will come back, and along with it, his customers. He'll also tell you he's miscalculated a few investments.
Being an entrepreneur, self-employed, I looked at them as risks.
Financial experts say it's common for people who are in their 50s, like Phil, to make the same money mistakes. For instance, they forget to keep their eye on their portfolios as retirement nears.
That's kind of your home stretch for retirement. You're not retired yet, you still got some time, and it's early enough that if you make the right changes now, you can really move the needle.
Alex Manassa, a senior financial planner with Zarka Financial in North Olmsted, says salvaging what's left of a damaged financial future begins with a plan. Figure out what you have, how much you'll need to retire, and what it will take to reach those goals.
When you turn 50, the IRS lets you put extra money into your retirement accounts. They're called catch-up contributions.
Right now, the Internal Revenue Service will allow anyone 50 and over to contribute an extra $1,000 to a traditional IRA, allowing them a $6,500 deduction when younger taxpayers are limited to $5,500. 50-somethings can also stash an additional $5,500 on top of the standard $17,500 contribution allowed in a 401k.
I would say most people don't even know about the catch-ups and don't come close to putting away the maximum that they can.
Phil knows he has some catching up to do, and he's certain if he hangs on at the corner of Clifton and West 115th just a little bit longer, the neighborhood renaissance on which he's counting will finally pay off.
The fact that I'm still able to do it at this point in my life, I'm thankful for that.
That away. Push. Come on, squeeze it.
Norm Talbot builds bodies. He builds cars. And he's built an award-winning reputation for the work that's coming out of Dunham Auto Body, the Maple Heights business he founded back in the 70s. But building an investment portfolio, that's an art this 72-year-old private fitness trainer and design engineer says he never mastered, especially as his retirement years began approaching.
Yeah, I was starting to worry about it a little bit in my 60s.
Norm admits he, like most people, didn't think much about retirement in his 20s or 30s. And then he says he made a series of financial blunders in his 40s and 50s. Hoping to make up that lost financial ground, he gambled what was left of his retirement savings and bought a pizza franchise that did well until the economy tanked in 2008.
It just never went anywhere. You know, it kept sucking money.
Norm made one of the more common money mistakes financial experts say people tend to make when they're in their 60s. He failed to understand the risk he was taking with his retirement funds.
I didn't even think about the risk. All I thought was I was going to make money at it.
Here's what you also need to remember about risk, whether you're starting your own business or investing in your retirement. Not all risk is bad. That's why you need to pay attention to how it's working for you.
Don't get too conservative too soon.
Matt Over, a certified financial planner from Spiro Smith, a fee-based advisory firm in Beechwood, says every year the money we save buys less, about 3% less thanks to inflation.
A lot of times people invest too conservatively early on, and they think I can't afford to take that risk and put it into CDs or something that's only earning them 1-2%.
Over says people nearing retirement also tend to miscalculate the cost of their golden years.
The biggest mistake people make in their 60s is not really thinking about what they're going to spend in retirement.
Hobbies like golf aren't cheap. Neither is travel. Cars break down, and the price of groceries goes up. Over says that's why it's important people in their 60s understand the kind of risk they're taking to better increase the odds it will pay off.
One more. Come on, drive it hard.
It's a reality check Norm Talbot says he wishes someone would have shared with him a long time ago.
It was a rude awakening, and it's just tough to get up every morning and know you're going to have to work until you can't.